Hey YouTube, Kiratswig here, bringing you all my Slifer Arcana Knight Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. This is a take on a different version of the Slifer the Sky Dragon deck that I've been running. Normally I would go for more of a monster setup that could get Slifer the Sky Dragon out, using the additional support we received a while back from the Egyptian God structure decks. But another way you can make the deck work is to use the different Arcana Knight or face card Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters that Yugi initially used to summon out 3 monsters very easily onto the field, and then tribute those monsters for Slifer the Sky Dragon while still being able to retain a hand to keep your monster powered up on the field as well. Slifer is definitely one of my favorite Egyptian gods, so I always like working on updates to the deck. So very happy with the results of the deck that I've been using for a good while for this Egyptian god. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the monsters, for the main deck, I am running 3 Slifer the Sky Dragon. Since it's your main go-to monster and the main focus of the deck, you just want to have better odds of opening up this card. So you run 3 of it. It has the attack gaining boost effect. For those of you that don't know what Slifer does, definitely is a powerhouse compared to the other Egyptian gods, keeping most of his monster effects compared to the other ones that were definitely nerfed in comparison, being able to destroy your opponent's own monsters by lowering their attack, gaining the additional attack off of this card as well, and then just having the additional option for that destruction, along with requiring the 3 tributes to summon out an Egyptian god, just like the other 2. Since we are running the Arcana monsters as well, I am running 3 Joker's Knight. You can send 1 Queen's Knight, King's Knight, or Jack's Knight from your deck to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. If you do, this card's name becomes the sent monster's name until the end phase. And during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard, you can target 1 other light warrior monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, add this card to your hand. You can only use each effect of Joker's Knight once per turn. So the recycle definitely does help with Joker's Knight, being able to at least put back your Queen, King, or Jack's Knight back into the deck for you to reuse, because you have plenty of special summon power off of cards like King's Knight, using it with Queen's Knight for all of those different plays. But this special summon setup is just really helpful, so you get those 3 monsters needed out onto the field for Slifer the Sky Dragon. I also run 3 Imperial Bower. With this card, if you control no other monsters, you can tribute this card to take 2 different monsters from your deck among Queen's Knight, King's Knight, and or Jack's Knight, and either add into your hand or special summon each monster. You can only use this effect of Imperial Bower once per turn. So along with Joker's Knight, that can be the 3 monsters needed onto the field for that play. And then with it, you can summon out Slifer the Sky Dragon. It just will take a lot from your hand for the play. So at the most, you may only have a Slifer with 2,000 or 3,000 attack because of this play. Most of the time, 2,000, because you do need to have that 1 additional spell, which we'll go over in just a bit, to then summon out that monster. For the original Knight monsters, I'm also running 3 King's Knight. King's Knight just initiates the actual special summon when it's normal summon. While you control Queen's Knight, you can special summon 1 Jack's Knight from your deck. So you need to have the Queen's Knight on the field. It's why I'm running 3 King's Knight compared to the other ones. So even if you just keep the Queen's Knight on the field, you can normal summon out the King's Knight and then just special summon out the Jack's Knight thanks to it. You can have multiple King's Knight on the field as long as you just have that 1 Queen's Knight to use with it. For those other monsters, I also run 2 Queen's Knight and 2 Jack's Knight. Jack's Knight is special summoned thanks to having King and Queen's Knight on the field. So with it, when it's normal summon, if you control Queen's Knight, you special summon Jack's Knight. That'll give you your 3 monsters on the field for the initial tribute to summon out your Slifer the Sky Dragon. This was a play that was definitely used a lot by Yugi, whether he was summoning out his Magnet Warriors or the 3 Knights to use for the tribute of Slifer the Sky Dragon. I would say most fitting, since they are used initially for that play to summon out the Egyptian God card onto the field anyway. With the last of the monsters just being 1 Arcana Triumphant Joker. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can send 1 Queen, King, and Jack's Knight from your hand interface with the field to the graveyard to special summon this card. It gains 500 attack times the combined number of cards in both players' hands. And you can discard 1 card to destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls of the same type as the discarded card, whether it is a monster, spell, or trap. So this is just an additional boss monster along with Slifer the Sky Dragon to summon out onto the field. Whether you want to get out Slifer or Arcana Triumphant Joker, you have both options available to you, with both relying on attack point boosts thanks to the number of hand cards for both players. You do have more of a boost with Slifer, having 1,000 from each of your own hand cards, but even if your opponent has a pretty big hand, it's 500 attack for each, so you can hit some numbers that could even surpass Slifer thanks to Arcana Triumphant Joker. That is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Jokers straight. You discard 1 card, special summon 1 Queen's Knight from your deck, and add 1 King's Knight or Jack's Knight from your deck to your hand. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon 1 monster. You cannot special summon the monster from the extra deck the rest of the turn, except for Light Warrior monsters. And during the end phase of this card is in the graveyard, you can target 1 Light Warrior monster in your graveyard, shuffle into the deck. If you do, add this card to your hand. So the big play with your Joker straight is to set up once again for your Slifer the Sky Dragon, or even your Triumphant Joker. But this is the Slifer deck, so we're going to focus on Slifer for the play. Discarding a card to special summon, and then also add the King's Knight or Jack's Knight from your deck to your hand gives you the play you need. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon 1 monster. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, but it gives you that normal summon, so then you can save the normal summon for the Slifer the Sky Dragon you're going to tribute summon out onto the field after you have your play. I also run 3 Thunder Force Attack. Adding onto the draw power, this card's very important for the deck. This card's activation and effect cannot be negated. If you control a monster whose original name is Slifer the Sky Dragon, destroy as many face-up monsters your opponent controls as possible. Then if you activate this card during your main phase, you can apply this effect. You draw cards equal to the number of monsters destroyed by this effect and sent to your opponent's graveyard. Also, you can only attack with 1 monster this turn. So you add to the power of your Slifer the Sky Dragon thanks to this card by also just drawing the cards of all the monsters your opponent destroy. This is, I would say, Slifer's main go-to attack. Being able to activate this card and then draw, equaling out numbers for your Slifer to then swing into your opponent with the cards destroyed. You can only attack with 1 monster, but the monster you will want to attack with is obviously Slifer the Sky Dragon. And I also run 3 Soul Crossing, another important spell just for setup. During the main phase, immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon 1 Divine Beast monster. When you do, you can tribute a monster or monsters your opponent controls, even if you do not control them. But if you tribute summon this way, apply this effect until the end of the next turn after this card resolves. You can only activate 1 card or effect per turn, not counting the effects of Divine Beast monsters. So you'll have your God card on the field, but then you're limited for the play. But it basically gives you your own resources by using your opponent's monsters, saving cards in your hand for Slifer the Sky Dragon. And it is a quick play, so if your opponent sets up that field, you activate that play and then take their own monsters. I also run 3 Thunder Speed Summon. During the main phase or battle phase, immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon 1 level 10 monster, or if you control Queen's Knight, King's Knight, and Jack's Knight, you can apply this effect instead to add 1 level 10 non-dark monster with question mark attack from your deck to your hand, and then immediately after, you can normal summon 1 level 10 monster. So with this play, you have either the search power to add the question mark monster, which is Slifer to your hand, and then tribute summon it out. You just want all these readily available options for you to tribute Slifer. So with 9 spells being focused on setting up the play to summon it, there should be a good chance that you'll open up one of these cards in your hand and then have the way to get out your Egyptian God card. And for the other lower numbers for the spells, I also run 2 Unexpected Die. This is just to special summon Queen's Knight onto the field much more quickly. I only run 2 because I only run 2 Queen's Knight, but once you get her on the field, if you have King's Knight, then there's your 3 monsters thanks to that. And I also run 1 Face Card Fusion. You fusion summon 1 Light Warrior monster from your X deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. If you control Queen's Knight, King's Knight, and or Jack's Knight, you can use 1 monster from the deck as fusion material. You can only activate 1 Face Card Fusion per turn. So with this play, it gives you that extra resource if you're missing that 1 monster, thanks to this card. And I also run 1 Reinforcements of the Army, searching out any of the warriors you may need for your initial setup, and 1 Monster Reborn. You can special summon Slifer with Monster Reborn. It'll just go back to the graveyard at the end of the turn, kind of like its anime effect for the special summon of this card. If it was special summon, you send it to the graveyard. And that is it for the spells. Moving on now to the traps. A lot of the setup can come around to you keeping cards in your hand, but if there are some cards you want to place on the field, that's where these traps come into mind. I run 2 Ultimate Divine Beast. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can discard 1 spell or trap, then target 1 Divine Beast monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position, then change the attack target to it. And during the end phase, if you control a Divine Beast monster, you can destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls that activate their effects this turn, making use of Slifer to get around some of the monsters that it can't destroy with its own card effect. I also run 2 Court of Cards. With this card, if you control no monsters or only control Queen's Knight, King's Knight, and or Jack's Knight, you can special summon 1 King's Knight, Queen's Knight, or Jack's Knight from your hand or graveyard. You can banish up to 1 of each of the cards from your hand and or graveyard to draw the same number of cards you banish. So with this, it makes up for the cards you may invest with Slifer, banishing the knights on the field to give you draw power off of Slifer's own cards, making it the stronger the bigger your hand is. And then lastly, I also run 2 Reckless Greed Greed. This is just a tech of mine because if my opponent were to try and swing over Slifer, if I have this card face down, I have another way just to activate 2, drawing 2, and that can raise Slifer's attack up by 2,000 points, which could be enough to either destroy that monster that's swinging into it potentially, and at least give me another resource to use the following turn. I may be locked out of my draw phase, but at least I'll have more resources then, because this is definitely a deck that you can finish off your opponent very, very quickly with your Egyptian God card if it's at that strength. And then for the extra deck, it's pretty generic for the lineup for the extra deck, but I do run the 1 Arcana Knight Joker. So you have the fusion target for the face card fusion to summon out onto the field and having another negation card thanks to it. And I also run 1 Clara Rushka for the normal summon link play, setting up more of them in the graveyard for some of our banish, like the face card Trap, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Barricade Board Blocker, along with 1 Underclock Taker, 1 Lena the Light Charmer, 1 Hippotion Engin, and 1 Nightmare Unicorn. You don't go into the extra deck often, but I did like to have a full setup available if need be. And then for the Xyz monsters, 1 Heroic Champion Excalibur, 1 Daigusto Emerald, 1 Baguska, along with 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Utopia, and 1 Utopia the Lightning. The Daigusto Emerald definitely does pop up the most, I would say, for all the Xyz monsters, with its normal summon, the recycle that I can do with my Joker cards, and special summon of a normal monster if need be. As for some of the go-to plays in the deck, one of my favorites still revolves around the setup that Joker's Straight can provide. Let's say you have the setup for the normal summon. If the only other 2 cards that you know of in your hand are either this card and then Slifer the Sky Dragon, and you have just 3 unknown cards. We're using the unknown spots, so we just know the number of cards you'll have in your hand thanks to Slifer the Sky Dragon. So if this is in your hand and you have your Joker Straight, you activate Joker Straight, discarding 1 card from your hand, putting you down to the 3 to special summon 1 Queen's Knight from your deck to add 1 King's Knight along with that. So you'll special summon out the Queen's Knight, and then you'll add the King's Knight. Then immediately after, normal summon a monster, so you can normal summon out the King's Knight, thanks to that. And then after all of that is resolved, you can activate King's Knight, since it was normal summon, and you control your Queen's Knight, to then special summon out the Jack's Knight onto the field. Thanks to that, you didn't use up your initial normal summon, you just used the normal summon off of the Joker Straight. So still having the Slifer in your hand, you can then tribute the last 3 to summon out your Slifer the Sky Dragon. If you went first, you only have a monster with 2,000 attack, since you only have 2 cards in your hand. But depending on what the cards may be, let's say one of them was Reckless Greed and the other one was just 1 additional unknown card. With it, you have the play then for these additional monsters to keep the 1 in your hand, setting the Reckless Greed. So then you only have 1 card in your hand. Slifer will be at 1,000 attack, but if your opponent does attempt to attack into the 1,000 attack point Slifer, you can then activate the Reckless Greed and then drawing 2 additional cards, putting your Slifer at 3,000 attack, so it will destroy your opponent's monster. And initially, your opponent will have to work around the fact that they'll have to summon something out that Slifer won't destroy with its own card effect to begin with. The other play you can rely on involves the setup with your Soul Crossing. Using your opponent's own monsters will also save cards in your hand thanks to that play, but it also comes down to if you have the Imperial Bower for the summon, giving you the tribute to add 2 different cards, including Queen's Knight and King's Knight from your deck to your hand, or special summon each monster. So then you can either special summon both out onto the field. With that being 2 monsters there, you also have the play to send a card off of Joker's Knight to send 1 from your deck to the graveyard, special summon, giving you 3 monsters on the field. It's more of an investment because you did have to use 3 cards in your hand, but then if you have your search off of your Light Speed, Thunder Speed summon, you activate this, applying the effect to add a card from your deck to your hand, then immediately after normal summoning, will give you the play to summon out Slifer thanks to these cards in your hand, but you will just be left with 1 additional card. So normally I like to invest in that play if I at least have the Slifer on the field, and I do also have Thunder Force attack in my hand, so I can set the Thunder Force, wait for my opponent to set up a board of their own, or at least attempt to, because once again, Slifer, activating it, destroying those monsters, then depending on how many you destroy, you'll get more cards added to your hand. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. Like I said, I always love updating Slifer the Sky Dragon. It's definitely my favorite Egyptian god. So any chance I can get to share any updates I've made to the deck since my last deck profile update, I always will do. And I hope you all enjoyed. If you want to see any other updates to the Egyptian gods, definitely do let me know. I think it's been over a year since the last 3 updates for them. And until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Twig out.